Okay, once again, we thank you for joining us. I have with me in the studio an author, international speaker, and a life coach, the very erudite Alex Ihama. It's a delight to have you on the program.
Always a delight to be back.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Okay. Generally speaking, I mean, globally, one key thing that tends to differentiate society or societies, differentiate one institution from another, is leadership.
That is correct.
I want us to start from the basics. I mean, this is a master's class, so to speak, for the benefit of the audience. But I know there are some things you're not going to reveal to us today, except we pay. But that's okay. But I want us to begin from the foundation, the basics. What is leadership? Because it seems to be a key issue, even in Nigeria. I mean, over the years, some say, well, we've not gotten it right with leadership. If we get it right with leadership, the Boko Haram issue will be a thing of the past. The economic situation will be a thing of the past.
That's right.
Unemployment will be a thing of the past. Governance and all of these issues will just fall into play. And then you're now wondering, what is this leadership? Is it a spirit or something? So let's start off from there.
And it's interesting you say that leadership is actually a spirit, but I'll come to that. When I was writing my latest book, The Mystic of Leadership, I Googled books, leadership books, and of course I found almost 200,000 hits on that.
200,000?
Yes, and you know, I've scanned through and I've read so much on the topic, and I realized that there are so many definitions of leadership, but even more so, there are so many misconceptions of leadership. In fact, there are more misconceptions about leadership than definitions of leadership. So I actually tackled that in chapter 1, and I'll give you a synopsis of it. What leadership isn't, because the more we peel the layers, the misconception layers of leadership, the clearer leadership becomes. Number one, what leadership is not is position. Leadership has nothing to do with your position. In fact, I'm writing another book, and it's called Leadership versus Authority, the Battle for Influence. Leadership and authority have been fighting for years, for space, for influence. Position of authority gives you authority over responsibility, and in some cases over people. But leadership as a concept is a mindset. Leadership as a concept is a mindset. So when we start saying my leader, or when we start really hailing people or saying we've appointed a new leader, we are basically telling the others and say, you are not leaders. But that's not true, because the true leaders may be the people you have just dismissed. So number one, that leadership is not, is position. It's not position. And instead of position, you focus on purpose. So leadership is purpose. In fact, when leadership, by definition, as I wrote, I said leadership is the spirit that can be ignited only, not by education, not by finances, not by network, only by purpose. Sustained only by principles. So leadership it has to do with your purpose in life. I'll give you an example. The moment you discover the purpose with which you were created, there's a spirit in you that is ignited. Another thing leadership is not, that people think it is prosperity. So when you achieve, or you have all this large, income or money around you and prosperity, financial prosperity, my leader. No. In fact, leadership has to do with philanthropy. How much are you giving away? That makes you a leader. Mother Teresa, $0 in her account, but through her, billions of dollars moved from nations to the poor. So when we talk leaders today, we mention her.
So how did we come around this kind of disconnection or misplacement of priority, or misplacement of the order in which we're supposed to have this definition translates into something substantial, something tangible in terms of impacts on lives?
Because, most people generally, they have to see to believe. A leader believes and then sees. So most people, you come with a big Mercedes, wow, he has made it. They have no idea if you borrowed it. They have no idea if you stole it. In fact, sometimes they don't even care. So we have allowed our eyes to lead us to hell. That's how I put it. The eyes, nothing is more deceptive than the eyes. Nothing is more, you see a pretty girl, suddenly you think you met an angel. Really? Could be a demon from hell. So, you know, they make you the director general. They think, well, you're the smartest in the department. Wrong. You could be the most greedy person. You could be the thief. You could be the most ignorant. So you want to know leaders, you think. I say this all the time. People don't think anymore. If they sat down and thought, they would, if they thought about the situation, they'll be able to determine. God didn't create no fools. I often say God didn't create no China. We just don't use our brain enough. That's it. We don't. So, you know, you mention names. You say, I don't want to mention names, of course, but there are names you mention in this country, and they say, he should be the next president. Why? Because of the name? What has he done? Tell me what he's done. He graduated from Uniben. Did he go back and build a new faculty and donate it? Did he paint the building he graduated from? I went to visit a man in Lagos. I love cars. When we were going to the house, the road was the worst road I've ever seen. Worse than Iraq. You couldn't even get there. Bumps everywhere. And when the garage opened, I love cars. I counted cars and I know prices of cars. He had cars worth over $1 million in his house in Lagos. But the road to the house is hell. That man has this powerful leadership position in this nation. If I mention the name, everybody knows. That's not a leader. That's the head of a department, a head of a ministry, a head of a place. That's just leadership is servitude. You want to be it says you want to be the first, be the last. We live in a society, people, philanthropy here is showcased. We go on TV, hey, I donated 1 million. Meanwhile, it says, let not the right hand know what the left hand is doing. That's what leaders do. I spoke in a church yesterday, and I gave a story about a dentist, one of the finest dentists in the country, Canada. Finest, if I mention the name. In fact, just by saying finest, if you Google it, you'll probably find him. He's a fine man. Fine like you, actually. Not only that, he's a dentist. He has the best dental practices across the country. The high-tech, if it's possible, machines will just fix it. He has daycares in his dental. He makes kids feel comfortable, Spider-Man all over his place. But that's not what I'm referencing him today, though. When I was launching my first book, I remember I was launching a book, and I said I was going to donate 200 books to the prisons. And I needed people to donate money so we can donate it. People say, oh, $500, $1,000, and they were just donating. And as I was walking by, he picked me, Alex, called me by the side and said, there's a prison near one of my practices. Can you find out how many people in the prison? I'd like to donate your book, 1 copy for every prisoner. I didn't live there. I went on Google right where it was. I Googled it, I found the name of the prison, capacity. The prison was built at a cost of $175 million. It has capacity for 220 people. As I was typing it, it says 198 people. He said, okay, so that's 200 copies. And he held my hand. He said, please don't mention it. He was the highest donor in the event, and he says, don't mention it. Don't mention it. That's a leader. When I wrote this other book, Mystique of Leadership, I referenced him as a community developer. Leadership is about developing people, places, and concepts. What have they developed again that you call them a leader? I want to know. Have they tied the road even to their homes? Have they gone back to their schools and made donations? Many of these people have kids in schools in Harvard. There's a Nigerian man who donated $3 million to a school in the U.S. that the daughters graduated from. Or $1 million or something like that, some crazy amount. And yet, he went to school here. How much has he donated to the school? But I can bet you if he's driving, they go, my leader! So you see, we got it all wrong because we let our eyes lead us to hell. But if they thought and say, what really has this man done? What really has this woman done? Who have they impacted in life? Nothing. Leadership stands on a couple of pillars. One of them is information. Many of these people don't have information. Some don't even know that in some countries a prime minister, in some countries a president, in some countries a chancellor. Some don't know that. Information is zero. Another one it stands on is inspiration. Who's inspired by you? Who goes to bed praying that you are in the position of authority? The beggars on the street, on airport road, we see people with no legs. My PA the other day says, "Sir, I have to hold your money. You just dole it out." I said, "But I can't help with the kind of people I see. I can't help." So a true leader does something about that. Until you're doing something that benefits people that you may never meet, you are not a leader.
Let's talk about the process of emergence of those in position of authority. Now, let me not use leadership now. That seems to be the challenge where we have this disconnect between leadership and those that they are leading.
Yes.
Can you substantiate that, in your opinion, from your experiences, interactions, using Nigeria as a case study?
Come again with the question.
I'm talking about the process of emergence of those who find themselves in positions of authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a problem with that within the context of Nigeria?
Yeah. I think one of Nigeria's greatest problems is not poverty. It's lack of knowledge. Then you can add tribalism. You can have nepotism. You can add all the isms. Just throw them in. Right? I've heard of people who are qualified but yet cannot hold that position because they are not from the same tribe of the people who are in the organization. Can you take a Yoruba man and take him to Kano and make him a director general in the ministry of something without issues? If you can't, then we have a big fundamental leadership issue. Poverty will take care of itself when the structure is working, when the processes are working. Poverty will take care of itself when people are discovering their purpose in life and they are pursuing it with passion. I keep referencing the young people I see. My heart bleeds for the youth in the nation and especially across Africa. Youth is power, vigor, passion. I have over 10,000 of them following me on Facebook. We have School of Greatness Nigeria. We have School of Greatness Tanzania. We have over 10,000 following us there. Most of them are youth with ideas, but yet no structure. There's a young man on Airport Road, I think I said it before, he unlocked my phone, charged me 9,000 naira. When I called my wife in Canada to tell them to unlock the phone, they were going to charge her $150. I ran back to Airport Road to unlock it for 9,000 naira, and I asked the young man, like, how many phones do you say? On a good day, 8. In my mind, I'm going 8 times 9. I'm like, what? You make this much money? He said, sometimes I fix phone, I do this. In my head, this guy makes about 200,000 naira. A month, it probably takes him $500,000. Nobody knows him. I don't even know his name. I don't even know the name of his organization. He has a little generator he's working with. Doesn't care if there's light or not. He has his own water fountain there. Doesn't care if there's water or not. These are people we should empower. These are people. BlackBerry will be coming. BlackBerry is Canadian. It's where I live. BlackBerry will be coming to learn from him. We don't fix BlackBerry over there. Just try opening the BlackBerry and see if you can even understand what is in there. But this guy knows the nuts by name. The screws, he knows them by name. Right? And yet, he probably didn't go to school, or he went to school and studied law or something. I don't know. So, we have allowed names of people that have really done nothing for the nation, and we've allowed ourselves to be carried away by names and by titles. Fundamental mistake. The moment you start saying, my name is Chief, Doctor, Professor, Apostle, Evangelist, and you are counting your title, nobody remembers your name. All they remember is your title. You are nobody. If all people remember is your title and not your name, you are nobody. These are fundamental concepts. These are very uncommon down here. These are thought processes that can save this nation. The true leader is the young man on the boundary road that is picking stones to fill in a pothole, whether he gets paid or not. That's the true leader. The fake leader is the one that is supposed to do that but drives by and does nothing. Leadership is not a position, it's not a title, it's not. Actually, leadership is not even conferred. You don't say, I have now made you a leader. Leadership is inferred, not conferred. The moment you anoint or crown Prince Charles as a king doesn't make him the leader in England. But the woman who cares for the orphans down the road? I met a young girl. I spoke in BIU, Benson Dahosa University. There was a young girl who went on my Facebook, sent me a message. Hello, sir. I was so inspired. You know, I would love you to come to my event. I'm like, what's the event? And she told me, oh, I gather orphans and I'm going to celebrate Christmas for them. I said, like, how many orphans? She said, 70. I said, are you an orphan? She said, no. I said, who are your parents? She said, my mom sells provision in front of my house. That tells me the economy she's coming from. 0. What do you sell? Oh, more bread, milk. That's what the mom says in front of the house. I said, then what about your dad? He says, he's a retired police officer. That means 0, perhaps no pension. I said, so what's your fascination with orphans? He says, the Lord just put it on my heart that nobody's taking care of them. I had to go to Abuja. I was in a conference in Abuja, and the vice president was also in the conference. And I told somebody to go represent me. This is just, to me, that's the leader. That's the leader. Like I've told people, just watch her. One day, God himself will come and carry her out of this nation and perhaps put her in a world stage in UN to give a speech to presidents of nations and tell them how it's done. Do you know when Mother Teresa was alive, she wanted to speak to the nation? She just, it's a card she places. And they give her space in the United Nations. How many presidents can boast that? How many presidents can, even in this country, can say, I want to have 15 minutes in the United Nations? Just a card. And she was a nobody, by the way. She was a nobody. Who was Mother Teresa? A nun. Yeah. Another one is Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks sat in the back of the bus. It was legal. It was illegal for her to sit in the front. It was illegal. The law says if you did, you go to jail. Yeah. That day, her leadership spirit was ignited. She said in her spirit, enough is enough. I am not going to the back of the bus. I paid the same fare like this white man, and I'm going to sit right here. You're going to go to jail. Take me to jail. Nelson Mandela. Look at the names we are calling. Nelson Mandela stayed there for how many years and gave the position. That's a leader. We have leaders who've been there before I was born, and they are still in positions of authority even while I'm old. If your name stayed that long, you are a tyrant. You are a tyrant. Jesus only stayed 3 years and let his disciples run it. If your name is still in circulation for that long, my friend, you are a tyrant.
But if the law provides for it, I mean, the law provides, is it tenure?
The law told Rosa Parks you can't stay in the front of the bus. The law told Nelson Mandela you cannot speak up against apartheid. The law told, you want to talk about the law?
Yes, I want to talk about the law.
The law? Do we even obey the law down here? Like, look at how people drive. The most fascinating thing to me this trip is the way people drive. We have allowed ourselves to degenerate beyond the level of animals. Let me help you understand. The difference between animal and human is the ability to reason. Everything you find in a man, both his penis and his heart, his kidney, a pig has. A horse has it. A dog has it. So you are not different from a dog except you think. And if you don't think, you are a dog. I didn't say that. Open and let's see, go on Google and look at the organs of animals versus human. So when somebody is trying to make a right turn and you are going right turn, now you have 8 cars trying to make a right turn in a lane that 1 car can go. We have 1 human and 7 animals. Is that the government's fault? Is it the government who say you should drive like that? We have, when you ever see that, try to figure out who's the human and who are the 7 animals. We were on Airport Road, the red light said stop, we stopped. People were honking, flying past us at 80, 100 kilometers an hour. One stopped behind us, so we're not moving, came on our side and took the time to wind down and insult us for standing, for stopping for the red light. And on the car, it said Living Waters Ministry, some ministry. It's a church. Listen, if we are going to make a change, I'll quote Mahatma Gandhi. It says, we must learn to become the change we desire in the world. Until then, we'll have no change. What does that mean? Every single person, I'll quote Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa said, if everyone will sweep the front of their house, the whole world will be clean. In the days I used to live here, we used to have environmental sanitation. I think it was one of the best things that was brought. Then people lined up to go on the buses. Go in the restaurant. I was there yesterday. There's one cashier. The first person is attending. The next customer comes. Instead of staying behind, he stays on the side. The third customer comes, he stays on the side. Now you have lined up sideways. Is that... do we even think? And the cashier is in front of one person.
Okay, let's just digress a little bit. With what has been going on in the country, particularly some of the issues of governance, politics. You said a while ago that some of these guys, they were there before you were born. Even when you were born, you've grown up to be old in a sense. These guys are still there. Does it mean that these sets of leaders or those in positions of authority that we have today, nothing can happen to them in terms of reorientation, regeneration, reacculturation, and then, of course, make that compatible with the realities on ground?
You see, to ensure that, because as a professional speaker, all I have is my words. So to ensure that I deliver the right word, and my words are not made in China, I approach things from 4 perspectives. One, psychological, physiological, philosophical, and spiritual. I have run across great wisdom. I have to find a Bible where it is. I Google search. If I don't, I call every man or woman of God professor in Bible theology. This thing makes sense. Socrates said this. Can you find me a verse in oh yeah, Alex, go to Proverbs 29:11. I'm like, wow, how come I didn't think about it? Now it becomes something I can share. So now let me answer your question. It says you can't put a new wine in an old wineskin. Does that answer your question? But Alex, you're the coach. You transform people all over the world. But I still can't put a new wine in an old wineskin, no matter how smart I am.
So it's a hopeless situation. That's what it means.
You have said so.
No, this is I'm asking you. I'm asking you,
they
Alex.
They asked Jesus, so you must be the king. Say you have said so.
No. I'm asking you, is it a hopeless situation?
I won't say it's a hopeless situation. A lot of people see it as a hopeless situation. What I am saying that you rise up. You rise up, Sonny Duke. You rise up. You watching me right now, rise up. How do you know you are not the next Barack Obama of this nation? How do you know? You rise up. Abafemi Awolowo and Nnamdi Azikiwe were kids. You and I were twice their age when they went to UK to ask for, made a motion. What motion have you made? What motion have I made? They were kids. You and I could have been Awolowo's dad by the time he was making a motion. What do we have today? Look at the age limit we have. People are even lying just to stay in the government. They're lying. They are older than they are. They are sick and frail, and yet they claim they're 60. How did you live your life that you're this sick and frail and yet claim 60? So it's not a hopeless, it's a hopeless situation for them. Look at what happened in Zimbabwe. It's a hopeless situation for them. But what I'm saying is, for the young folks, it's not. They have vigor. They have passion. They have speed. They're like eagles. They're smart. They have access to information. They know technology. They are aware. And then the ones that are spiritual have even a greater advantage. So it's not a hopeless situation. You are going to see what's going to happen. We are going to have people rise up above. Let me use Martin Luther King. Until a man can rise above his individualistic concern for a broader concern of humanity, he's not fit to live. You are going to see people dropping like birds. It's not a prophecy. Don't religious. I'm not all about this is fact. It's factual. It's factual.
Okay. Now, you said for the older folks, it's a hopeless situation for them. But for the younger folks, I mean, the future is bright based on some of those indices that you mentioned.
If you allow me quickly interject,
yes.
It's a hopeless situation if you choose to not change.
Okay. So I think that's better.
Yes.
But the question I want to ask is, with what we have seen, what we have become, I mean, we have known over the years. I always ask this question. The current crop of leaders that we have, probably,
you mean those in positions of authority?
Yes, they had interactions, they had mingling with the Ziks, with the Awolowos, and all of that. And this is what we can get from them today. The next generation of leaders are learning from these people. Even the so-called youths that you talked about, they are also learning from these people and from the processes that are ongoing. Learning may not just be by having personal contact with them. They see the things they do, they hear the things they do. Against that background, where is the deflection going to come from in terms of changing away, moving away from the norm that we currently have?
My question back to you is, what else can you learn from a pig? Can you learn from a pig? What else can you learn from a pig? There's only one thing you can learn from a pig. You put a pig in a White House, it will look for the trash house. It's just what goes on. So you have to decide what you're learning. Learning is intentional, or else it's foolishness. Learning is intentional, or else it's foolishness. I practice what I call intentional learning. By the time I come on this show, I've already spent about 4 hours learning. Listen to a sermon by T.D. Jakes, listen to a speech by Zig Ziglar, read a portion of a book, sharpen my knowledge. So, how many people do that? So if you're watching what's going on, like you were talking about the newspapers, and you're talking about, if that's your source of learning, you are not learning. Learning is a process for development, for growth. So if you are not growing, you are not learning. And if you are not learning, you're dying. That's a quote directly from one of my books as well. So, but the people, where's that going to come from to answer the second part of your question, are those who have seized the access of technology and accessed information beyond their boundary. Beyond their boundary. When they are driving me around Benin, I say, oh, wow, that's a nice place, or that's a nice hotel, or I say, who owns it? There is nobody that's been around me who can tell me who owns anything I asked after.
What's the import of that?
What the importance of that is, now you have an idea who owns it, and you're beginning to think, what does the person do? Is the person somebody I can learn from? Is the person somebody I should meet? Is the person somebody I should network with? Is the person somebody I can introduce to somebody? Is the person somebody I should even patronize? Those are 7 questions you can do with just a name. I don't meet people except I Google them. In most cases, though, in this part of the world, I only find Facebook. But in the Facebook, it tells me how they think. If all you are posting on your Facebook is insulting the government, I don't want to meet you. And if all that you are doing is also praising the government, I don't want to meet you either. I want to see fair. I want to see justice. I want to see righteousness. If what you are doing is posting naked women, then stick to your I won't even meet you. Sometimes when I'm going to play, I ask them. I also tell them, call them that we're coming. Like, you don't walk into ambush. Ambush doesn't necessarily mean you're being kidnapped or anything. Ambush is just, I call it information ambush. So, learning is not education. It's not what you go to Uniben and you learn. No, that's not learning. That's education. It's, in some cases, in some cases, it's not even applicable. Why do I say that? The top 20, top 10 richest people in the world put all their weight together. It's $3.3 trillion. Many of them didn't even graduate from conventional schools. Steve Jobs was in a school for an art program. He didn't like it. He was walking on the hallway once and looked into a class and they were studying technology. And he's like, this sounds interesting. So he stayed by the window and learned. That's learning. Intentional. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be in an art class. And he loved it. Guess where he was again the next week? By the window. He did not finish his art program, but he graduated in his mind in technology. At the age of 19, he had $1 million. At the age of 20, $10 million. At the age of 21, $100 million. We sit and sing double, double. God doesn't go by numbers like that. How much you access your brain. He was accessing his brain faster than his bank account can catch up. iPhone 7, he had all these things before he died. They are just rolling it out. This is a marketing strategy. They were opening an arm in the Walt Disney, and the man died. Disney died, and the architect or the engineer, in his speech, he said, I wish, he says, we are opening this phase now. This is so fantastic. I wish Walt Disney was alive to see this. And people say, oh, I wish it was. When it was time for Walt Disney's wife to speak, before she spoke, she says, may I correct the young engineer? My husband saw the building before he hired you to build it. My husband saw the building before he hired you to build it, and you are here saying, I wish he's here to see it. If he was here to see it, he would tell you the mistake you made in building it. Those are visionaries. Leadership is visionary. People, Nelson Mandela, do you know how many times they went to Nelson Mandela's jail and asked him to sign one single paper and they'll let him out of the jail? He says, no, this is not in line with the purpose with which I was created. It's definitely not in support of the vision which I'm willing to die for. Go and read the speech before he went to jail. It says, Your Honor, the concept of freedom is something that I've always embraced, something I've always admired, and something that I think is the right everybody should have. He says, but if this, my stand, has become a problem, it's something I'm willing to die for. What do you say to somebody like that? Go to jail for 26 years? He said he was willing to die for it. Who's willing to die for this nation? Hello? Until a man, I'm going to tell you again, Martin Luther King, can rise above his individualistic concern to a broader concern of humanity, he's not fit to live. In other words, you are already dead by not stepping up. For those who love the Bible, I see there's lots of churches around. It's in the book of Revelations. It says, some of you, I know, you have a reputation of being alive when in fact you are dead. We have a lot of dead men walking. Dead men walking as in W-A-L-K, dead men working as in W-R-K. They wake up, go to work, do nothing. How else can churches do a 5-day program and the church is full? That means people didn't go to work.
Okay, here comes my next question. Some time ago you were here. You talked about followership as also being a part of the problem within the context of Nigeria. But there are those who feel differently about that. If we have the right leadership, it will be easy for us to have good followership.
In my new book, I'm writing Leadership versus Authority, the Battle for Influence. I talked about a true leader is he who knows when to follow and when to lead. And a true follower is not he who follows all the time. Is he who knows when to follow and when to lead. So I'll give you an example. This is your company. You're the CEO. I'm your follower. I'm your manager. So you run the big things, I run others. If you are not here and I don't step up, I'm not a true follower. I'm a stupid follower. If they have to call you all the time in UK and ask you, should we put water in the flower? Now, you also have a responsibility as well. Did you mentor me? Did you train me? Did you coach me? And did you empower me? Or are you going to come back and say, why did you water the flower? I'm supposed to water the flower. So leadership has a component of followership. When I said this in one conference in Canada, some people, they had opportunity for question and answer, and the person raised up their hand and asked this question. I said, good. I said, see, when I was speaking, somebody walked in. It was a Redeemed Church conference. So I say that because the concept is on spirituality now. I said, when I was speaking, somebody walked in, and I saw some of you in front who we thought was a higher position in the hierarchy, stood up and went to usher that person in. I said, that means, sir, can you stand up? I said, he said, that's our general big guy or whatever. Okay. So you guys, people, respect you and because you are in charge. But you now also found who? Somebody that you have to stand up for. And I said, sir, are there also people, if they call me right now, you will stand up? He said, yes. I said, so you see, you are a leader, but you are a follower. If you don't stand up and respect that person, then you are a bad leader. And if you're a follower, you don't step. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's exactly. So even Jesus says, I do what my Father does. I only do what my Father does. Like, why?
You talked about the spirituality as an aspect of leadership. And there are those who would, okay, where do we place Alexi Hama? Is he a pastor? Is he an evangelist? Because there's a lot of embellishment of a presentation with quotes from scriptures, references from scriptures, and all of that. So let's look at that as an integral part of this discourse on leadership development and impact.
And I appreciate that. I had to do the same thing yesterday. I said, people say, we can't figure you out. Okay, I'll give you a true example. I told my PA yesterday, I said, I don't want to eat rice. I don't want to eat no swallow. I don't want to eat no yam. And I don't want to eat no plantain. He says, then what else are you going to eat? I said, I look for something else. I'm tired of that. So we went somewhere and he went to buy me. He said, there's this place that do smoked fish and it's all nice and stuff. So we went there and I said, okay, I want to have that. And then, I said, oh, so I told him, I said, I would love to see, the sanity of I just love to see the place. I want to see if it's clean enough to. So, so I looked at it. I was a little comfortable. I said, so, sir, you own this place? What's your name? He said, Austin. I said, good. I said, this place you have really look nice. A lot of people love it. I said, you know what? You're going to open other locations from this. And when I left, and my PA came to me and says, anytime you speak, people say, is he a man of God? Is he a pastor? Is he a this? Is he a this? And I said, well, I just told you in the beginning, I speak from 4 pillars. Yeah. So, and when I'm in a church or a spiritual conference, then I refer to Abraham, Moses, and all that. But when I'm in what I call my habitat is where I'm an executive coach. You have to be earning millions of dollars and have organizations that make millions for you to have me on your speed dial. That's my work, right? So, and when I'm in there, I quote Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln. Knowledge all comes from one source, God. Intelligence now is your ability to disseminate it in ways that different people, whether they believe in God or not, can embrace it. I can speak to the dead. Dead as in I'm talking mentally dead and or spiritually dead. My conferences, I have conferences and I'm planning one now, but I have conferences all over the world. My conferences are attended by Muslims, by Christians, by atheists, by professors, by students. Everybody feel welcome. This information we're disseminating now can benefit anybody, including the dead. I'm talking now about those who the Bible says they are walking, but they are dead. Right? If they open, all you need to do is open your mind just a little bit and you'll be amazed at the flow of information. That's it. So is Alex, am I a pastor? Yeah, I'm not a pastor. Is he a professor? I'm not. I'm just a student of life. I don't carry titles. When I coach for Africa, or especially in Nigeria, they say, oh, sir, after this song, you are the next one speaking. How do we introduce you? I say, Alexi Hama. They come back and say, no, I know it's Alexi Hama, but is he bishop? Is he doctor? I say, no, Alexi Hama. They walk away confused like the rich young ruler when Jesus told him, sell all you have. And I'm looking at them, they're confused. When they hit the microphone, oh, we have a son of Israel, we have this. Please, let us rise up and praise the man of God, Bishop Dr. Alexi Hama. They still give me Bishop Doctor. The other day, my wife called me and said, go on Facebook. I don't think you've seen how they introduced me on one page. I went there, they gave me Bishop, they put in bracket Doctor. These are things I speak against. I speak against titles. Titles limit you. Titles put you in a box and put a nail and nail you in there. People will see you as nothing else but that. They call Jesus master. I said, why do you call me master? Is Jesus not the master? Of course he is. But why do you call me master? He said. Teacher. I said, why do you call me teacher? What are you then? I'm just the son of God. What is Alexi Hama? He's just the son of God. He's a man who's in touch with himself, a man who knows himself, discovered himself, loves himself, aware of himself, and has made it a point of duty, his calling, to empower people to know themselves, be aware of their environment, and go and actualize their purpose in life.
Where does a man's transformation start, and what are the keys towards actualizing this transformation?
A man's transformation starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. I talk a lot about this in my book, Welcome to Greatness. It starts in the mind. It starts where you refuse to accept the status quo. Many of us still accept the status quo. There's no life. Oh, there's no life, so let me have generator. But when you refuse to accept the status quo, you come up with inventions like inverter. Right? You step out of yourself now. So you say, you know what? I refuse to accept that I swear. I refuse to accept how I drive. I refuse to accept that I beat my wife. I refuse to accept. You know, like you have to be honest with yourself. It begins in front of the mirror. Michael Jackson says, man in the mirror. A transformation begins with self-reflection. And once you have reflected on yourself, you make a decision and say, there are things about me that I want to change. There are things about me that I want to change. And once you make that decision and say, there are things about me I want to change, transformation begins. Now you need to take action. So, and there are different steps now you do that. But the first and the most predominant step is self-reflection. Then it moves on to self-discovery. You're like, wow, so these are my strengths. I'm good in this, but these are my weaknesses. It's okay. Don't beat yourself on the head. These are my weaknesses. These are my opportunities. These are my threats. These are my behavior. These are things I do that I shouldn't. These are things I don't do that I should. A pen and a paper will help. Better than a gun. It says a pen is mightier than the sword. So you start to note those things down. Self-reflection, then it leads you to self-discovery. From self-discovery, you now say, okay, let me be aware of what's actually going on. Then you will start seeing how people drive. Meanwhile, you used to drive like that. Once you've discovered yourself, you are now a spectator. You're watching like, wow. There are things I see, I'm like, wow, I thank God that is God. I thank God I was saved. Because I'll be no different from this. So it's then from self-reflection, self-discovery, self-awareness, and the other ones you see, and at the end of that spectrum is self-actualization. Only then is what you achieve sustainable. Until then, everything you achieve is not sustainable.
If you just joined me, you're watching TMI, and of course, our special guest here is an author, an international speaker, and a life coach, Alex Ihama. It's been a delight having him here, sharing some thoughts with us on leadership development and transformation. I'm sure you benefited immensely from the thoughts that we've shared. Just before we let you go, what is your assessment of leadership in this country? What is your message to them? Because obviously they're the ones who've taken us to where we are right now, and maybe to where we ought to be. But there seems to be a disconnect from where we're coming from, where we are right now, and where we ought to go. So I don't know what your thoughts are along those lines.
If you're asking me to speak to those in positions of authority, like I'm very clear on that demarcation, if you will. And I say, well, if you're in a position of authority today, you have to understand one thing. One thing I'm going to tell you. Number one is, if you think holding a position of authority makes you a leader, you may never become one. If you also think not holding a position of authority does not make you a leader, you may never become one either. So what's my point? My point is the fact you've been honored by position of authority. They've called you a director, a commissioner, a minister, or whatever they've called you. They've given you that position. Now, you need to make every effort to ignite your leadership spirit. How do you do that? There's a process, and I've talked a lot about it today. Is you discover your purpose. So Mother Teresa was a nun, like 100 million nuns. But she said, my purpose is to feed the poor in the trenches of India. What's your purpose? If it's, okay, you know what? I'm going to make sure we have good roads. I'm going to make sure the educational system works. You have to discover the purpose of the position that you were given, you were conferred with. And then make it a mission with a vision. You've been given a position. Now you discover the purpose which that position is about. Now you create a vision. Okay, I'm the commissioner of roads or works or whatever you call them now. So, wow, and many of you have been overseas. That's the problem here. Many of you have been to UK, you've been to, my dad came ages ago, and the first time he came, he says, we're driving in the middle of the night. He says, are you telling me these lights don't go out? I said, they don't. We just take it for granted. There's no pothole on the street. If there's a pothole, the contractor who fixed it, they'll go and rise them up, and they'll fix it, and they'll sue them. So they don't just fix it and leave them. They fix it and they sue them for the damages, for even allowing the road to go bad within the time it wasn't supposed to. So you now create a vision. I'm going to create a vision whereby every road, this is what we're going to have. And then you now make it a mission. And every other thing that is not related to that mission, cut it off. Every other person that doesn't buy into it, retire them. You have to take a hard liner. You have to. Jesus looked at Peter and said, get behind me, you Satan. There are some people that need to get behind you because they are Satan. If you can't do that, impartially, by the way, not just I'm doing this for this tribe and on this tribe, you'll never go anywhere. Now, let me also say this. No matter the age you are, 70 years old, 60 years old, there's still greatness in you. You have the power to transform yourself and become a blessing. Many of the time we pray for miracles when we need to be the miracle for somebody else. So I'm letting you know that no matter the age, young, old, middle, male, female, Hausa, Christian, Muslim, pagan, this is not about a religious class. You don't believe in God, good for you, not good for you, but that's up to you. But in you, in everybody, it's the ability to make an impact for generations. So let me encourage you. Don't say, well, I'm too old now anyway, I'm retiring next year or whatever. No, you can still make an impact this year. In fact, you can make an impact today by just even how you drive. Drive with love. It says out of all these things, the most important is love. Yeah. That's all I can say to you. Be a loving person.
Thank you very much. Of course, you heard it from the horse's mouth. I mean, just take advantage of the stuff that you have on the inside. Use it to make the world a better place to live in. I always say on the show that too many problems in the world. We don't need more problems.
No.
We need solution bringers.
Yes.
We need solution solvers.
Yes.
That's where you and I come in. And interestingly, God has made it possible for us to have deposit within us.
Yes.
To change the world.
That's correct.
To make it a better place.
That's correct.
So all we need to do is just look inward and tap from that inner recess from our heart, and then get it done. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming.
It's a great delight.
Thank you so much.
I love your show.
Thank you so much.
All right.
It's a TMI Monday. We'll take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk more. Join me again.